What gets weirder and weirder the more you think about it? The fact that everyone reading this has a whole life and this is the only time we will most likely ever interact. This hit me one day. The comments are people's, often incoherent, thoughts within the context of their life at that point in time or mood of that particular day. I will never interact with them again. I will never see the look on their face or the body language while they type the message. But I will read the message as a completely thought out comment on the subject and make up my mind in a couple of seconds who this person is. And now we are during a pandemic and people are scared, lonely, depressed, etc. But I will still judge them in my head faster than reasonable, even though I know all of this. The fact that we just chose an animal and no really communication ever takes place and we just say you live with me now, I'm going to feed you and take care of you, and they are like okay. How does outer space never end? Consciousness, we are all just a floating bag of brain inside of a meat ship, and yet we can think and act for ourselves. You don't wash your hands, they wash each other while you watch. Either the universe has always existed, or at some point it started existing. Neither one makes sense. Music. The fact that some waves of sound are pleasing and entertaining to listen to fascinates me, and it always weirds me out a little when I think about it. I was thinking at the same thing the other day. What's even weirder is that different people perceive these waves of sounds in different ways. They might not find the same music as you appealing. So fascinating. The fact that I'm going to die, like yes, I get it, but I'm going to die and someone will have to take care of my corpse, no licky. People pay the government taxes. Part of that money is given to schools. The school gives me a bit of it. Some of the bit they give me goes to the government. Once a year, the government decides I gave too much, and they give some back to me. Dreaming. Why do we dream? Why are my dreams full of absurd nonsense? Literally any word in the English language will stop looking like a word the longer you look at it. Is the you that wakes up after you fall asleep the same you, or a new thread of consciousness? The fact that as an adult it is deemed weird to drink a human's breast milk, but to drink random animal's breast milk is absolutely fine. It's just about what you are used to. Europeans won't eat bugs. Other countries would think us stupid not to use this abundant source of animal protein. I gag at the smell of organ meat because I grew up without eating it, and on top of that with the connotation that intestines etc are filthy. As a teen I was weirded out by goat milk. A classmate was weirded out by being told that cow's milk is indeed intended for baby cows and cows only produce milk after a pregnancy. In short, convention. The fact that humans invented money and now it's the most important thing we need in our lives. Scam. How much we take our body for granted. Can you imagine consciously having to manually ensure our heart pumps, our livers filter, our stomach digests, etc. all at the precise times that they do? All of that goes on in the background. It's already a lot to process the world and adapt to things as they occur, but there's also so much going on in our bodies that we don't have to worry about. Telomeres and aging. We basically just copy plus paste ourselves trillions and trillions of times until our very essence unravels at the seams. Then what gets copy plus pasted slowly changes until the whole file corrupts and stops working. I know. It's so fascinating to know that there was a time where technically every single injury could be considered minor because of our telomeres. But then we get older and we do not reproduce them as many times anymore. And why do we stop reproduction so early and not like in our 50s? Quantum mechanics. Our primitive ape brains simply have no evolutionary reason to have developed an intuitive understanding of it, so it's all just weirdness to us. Same with time. I have no idea if time is actually a dimension. Can it move in directions that we can't experience? I mean, we experience time as a line we cannot take any influence on, but still as a construct we can understand past, present and future and even more complicated modes of them. This is just wild. Tesseract. You can make a 2D object, square, with a bunch of 1D objects, lines. Likewise, you can make a 3D object, cube, with a bunch of 2D objects, squares. Likewise, theoretically, you can make a 4D object, tesseract, with a bunch of 3D objects, cubes. Each face of the object is a cube, but looking at it in 3D, the whole thing is also a cube, just like how a cube in 2D looks like a square. Try to bend that into your 3D perception of the world. When you walk through a cemetery, you're walking on top of hundreds of dead people. People who were alive at one point, had jobs, families, hobbies, pets, and now they are just laying under a pile of dirt, and you're stepping on them. Also, the fact that you can watch any old movie and everyone you see talking is dead, and you probably stepped on them too. Life and death. Life is everything that we've ever known, and we only get to experience it for about 80 years. After that, it's nothingness for all of eternity, and there's an infinitely long span of time both before and after this short period of time that we get to experience. We are the universe experiencing itself. We are a small piece, infinitely small. Even the collection of all of humanity that has lived and died only makes up a small portion of the universal experience. We are all one. Cancer. It's the body turning on itself and eventually killing it, taking the cancer with it. It's homicide and suicide all at once. Marriage. I love you. Let's sign a contract with the government. Words. Like who decided that we should name certain words? Why is one named one? Mining for Bitcoin. Like what? Derealization or depersonalization. When you think about it, it's very possible that what we live every day isn't real, so people who experience this may just be seeing what the rest don't. Look around you. Take note of all the different things surrounding you. Pay attention to their colors. Pay attention to their textures. Pay attention to their odors. Think about the water in your kitchen and the air that you breathe. Think about how different all of these things are. Now remember that everything in existence is nothing more than protons, neutrons, and electrons. Your experience of yourself and of reality can be drastically changed forever by a brain injury. Your personality only remains intact so long as the sparking drug meat in your head keeps working. X. Finis Gage. Religion. It's just people born into a system that older people tell them is correct, but is completely nonsensical and relies exclusively on being indoctrinated into it as children for people to believe in it. The probability of you being born is 1 in 400 billion. When you say a word so often or repeatedly to the point that it doesn't even sound like a real word anymore, and you just pause to wonder if it is, even though it 100% is. How does anything exist? For at one point in time nothing should have existed, then poof, space, gas and stuff. And if you believe in a religion like Christianity, what created God? And what created that? Death. The more dimensions about it you ponder, the more intractable it becomes. Small talk. When I'm at work, a smaller fast food chain more to the southwest US, I always think about the things I say to the customers. Just the little things, and I break them down to every little word. Birds evolved from dinosaurs. Birds used to be reptile-like creatures but have feathers. Birds exist. Birds can effing talk. The fact we are living in this spinning chunk of rock in this thing they call space